Hello. Let's talk about the early Americans. My name is Mr. Larson, and away we go. First thing we need to talk about is the influence of climate and culture. It is very important to understand that these two things are incredibly closely aligned. You can see in the picture right here, now this one's obviously taken somewhere in the Middle East, but looking right here, that Bedouin man, noticing the climate, so the area he's around, and the culture that you see right through here. A couple things to note. Number one is the thing he has on his head. That scarf is going to provide protection from the sun. It's also going to provide protection from the sand when the wind blows and kicks the sand up. And also it could keep some of the sweat in, which again is going to make it wet. When it's wet, it's cooler. It's going to cool you off. Notice the long clothing, again, keeping the hot sun off of your skin. It's also protecting the sand. So when the wind blows from it hitting into you, and then also if you're sweating, it's going to keep that sweat on your skin, which is going to keep you wet. And then if that is the case, you will be less hot. Notice the camels in the background. The camels, easy to walk in the desert. They can go long times without water. They have eyelids that are special to keep the sun out or the sand out. The darker eyes as well on the camels to kind of make it easier for them to see in the hot, sunny climate. So again, it's important to understand here that climate and culture are going to influence one another. Looking at the Americas specifically, it's important to looking at the idea, and this is really, I guess, is kind of general, is the idea of food, clothing, housing, and music. Just some of the different things that are influenced by the climate and the culture. So for example, areas that are near the ocean or water are going to have a cultural food that's going to be associated with fish much more than an area that is located far from that. Same with the clothing you choose to wear. As I talked about, the music you choose to listen to, the instruments that are played are going to be largely based off of the things that are available to you, and then the housing as well. So where you live is going to be largely based, and how you live largely based upon the climate. First one to talk about in landforms is mountains. Now mountains, in this situation, we're talking largely about the Andes in South America and the Sierra Madre in present-day Mexico. Now mountains are good for protection from outside forces. However, they make it hard to farm because mountains are steep. If you irrigate your farm, the soil will run away, and then the soil is no longer there. It erodes, so farming is going to be hard. So what we're going to have are these things you can see in the picture right here, which are terraces. Now, terraces are going to be dug out, and it's going to prevent that erosion. So basically, you're taking a slope, and you're going to make a bunch of tiny little plots of land that you can use to grow on. So this picture right here is in the Andes Mountains, just from the Inca in Peru. This is what they made. Again, they'd stack up the stone to make some sort of retaining wall to hold the soil in, so that when you water and irrigate your soil, it doesn't just run down the mountain, it stays in the area, soaks in, and allows you to have good farming. Second one we're going to talk about is the plains. Plains are what you can see in the background picture right through here. They're flat, which is easy to farm. The problem with the Great Plains and just plains in general is they don't get a lot of consistent rainfall. When you don't have consistent rainfall, it is very hard to keep your crops growing. Plants need water. Plants don't have water, plants die, just like humans who don't have water. So it's going to make it hard to grow stuff. So you're going to have irrigation. If you don't have irrigation, you could hunt. Again, but that's less consistent, and it requires a lot of effort to go and capture and kill an animal to eat, and compared to simply just staying at home and growing stuff. So they're going to have to require some irrigation, because otherwise you're not going to have food. The other one to talk about are river valleys. River valleys, like you can see in this picture right through here. The two big ones in this time that we're talking about for this unit are the Mississippi River Valley in the middle of the present-day United States, and then the Amazon River Valley in South America, Brazil, parts of Peru as well. These are important because they're going to have frequent flooding. Frequent flooding is going to pour silt that kind of gets brought along the bed of the river. It's a very soft, fine soil, not quite sand, but very, very soft soil. Lots of nutrients in this as well from plants and stuff that's in the water, fish poop that's going to decay. That provides a lot of nutrients, so it's very fertile soil, very easy to grow in there. Also, the frequent flooding means you don't really have to do irrigation as much as near the river, so you're going to have more consistent rainfall, which helps with your water and making sure stuff is good to go. last one to talk about are deserts. Now, deserts in this time are primarily located in the southwestern portion of the United States, northern portion of Mexico. Deserts are problematic because they have very few natural resources which allow you to live. Granted, they are going to have some plant life. However, you can see right here, the plants you see, not really that conducive to creating life and keeping you going. Very inconsistent water coming in, so it's hard to grow a lot of crops. Very hot. The soil is not that fertile, so even if you could get something to grow, it's not going to last for a very long time. The plants that are very successful in the desert are ones that can go a long time without having water, like you can see the picture here. The plants that you have there are also not great for providing a large source of food. They're also not great in terms of providing shelter. So you can't just make a house out of a shrub and a bunch of little tiny sticks. You need larger pieces of wood, larger different things. So these groups are going to have to figure out a way of becoming advanced, really, because otherwise they're going to die, particularly in terms of transporting water. So they're going to build canals that'll take water from somewhere far away that does have a consistent source of water so that they can constantly have this water, one, to irrigate their crops, but two, to keep them alive. Last three things we're going to talk about is climate. Now, climate is going to be incredibly important in determining the culture and what's going on. Climate largely relates to the area. Again, climate is not weather. Climate is a consistent trend over a long period of time. Weather is a day-to-day kind of thing. So just because an area could have a cold climate doesn't mean it's not going to have hot days. Hot climate doesn't mean it's not going to have cooler days. The climate is consistent over a long period of time. One of the climates to talk about are tropical rainforests. These are going to be happening largely in Central and South America in this context. They're warm and they're rainy. This is good because they get a lot of water. A lot of water means easy to grow crops. You can grow a lot of food, which allows your civilization to grow large because you don't have people starving to death and dying. Temperate zones are going to be central Mexico and then eastern parts of the United States as well. Similar kind of climate, except for not quite so much rain. Gets hot and it's pretty humid, which is great for growing crops, particularly the three sisters, as they're known, of beans, corn, maize, and squash. Again, large crops that are easy to grow if you have a lot of water. They need some heat as well, but they keep you alive, provide a lot of nutrients, and this is going to allow these civilizations to grow and develop as well. The last one to talk about is arid climates. Again, the deserts. These ones lack consistent water. Because they're lacking consistent water, it is much harder to live there. You're going to have to develop advanced systems of irrigation if you would like to keep yourself alive and grow your crops. So they're going to build canals. That is all for now. Comments, questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you later. Good luck.